I am so excited to talk with this woman. I talk a lot about Greta Thunberg, as a young person out there making things happen. And I've often said the young people are going to save us. Well, at 16, this woman went out and tried to get folk understanding the relationship to Mother Earth and why we are destroying it. And now she has her book out. It's called Black Earth Wisdom. She's not 16 anymore, but she's doing still God's work. Soulful conversations with Black environmentalists. Yes, we do care. Let me welcome Miss Leah Penniman to the Karen Hunter Show. Hello.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, listen, I appreciate the work that you're doing. I feel like I'm doing walks now daily. I'm up to 103 consecutive days out there,
Oh,
rain or shine,
congratulations.
snow or whatever. But it's put me in community with nature in a way that I didn't expect. I'm not a walker. I'm type A. I'm constantly moving. I'm driving. And this has connected me to myself in a way I didn't expect. And I'm just listening to a book, finished it, called Inflamed, which I thought was going to be about inflammation, but it's about everything that you're writing about. And at 16, though, you understood what was going on in your life that made you want to start a whole movement.
I think you give me too much credit. Maybe join a movement. But I started farming when I was 16. So I'm from Soulfire Farm, but started out working for the Food Project in Boston. And there was something about the undeniable, elegant goodness of putting a seed in the ground, caring for it, tending it, bringing it to harvest and feed the community. It's like that intersection of earth care and people care. And I got hooked on that and, started farming every summer, high school, college. And, it was challenging in that while I was in love with it, I looked left, right, up and down, and I saw a lot of white men in leadership and really was wondering, as a Black woman, how do I fit into this? And fortunately, mentors came my way, kept me on the path. And, fast forward, I'm in my 40s now, but fast forward, started Soulfire Farm, wrote Farming While Black, Black Earth Wisdom, really trying to contribute to the canon of Black ecological thought and Black agrarian nobility.
I feel like you're reclaiming something that is inherently ours to begin with. So in 2006, you bought 72 acres in New York, upstate. Grafton is upstate.
That's right.
Okay. And started Soul Fire Farm. Even the title. What led you to that?
hmm Well, my spouse, Joan, and I were living in the south end of Albany, New York, which is a neighborhood under food apartheid. And we say food apartheid, not food desert, because there's nothing natural about your zip code determining your life expectancy or Black and brown folks having less access to nourishing food and the disease burden that's associated. So, anyway, we're living in this neighborhood. There's no farmer's market, no supermarket, no gardens. And it's a struggle, right, to feed our own children fresh vegetables, their ancestral foods. So a joke started on the block when our neighbors found out that we both had a farming background. They were saying, when are you going to start a farm for the people? And we didn't really take it as a joke because that had always been something tickling, the edge of our consciousness. And so we did go out, we wed ourselves to this 72 acres up here in the mountains and started by hand to build a home, to revitalize the soil. And we opened the farm in 2010 with its first program actually being a doorstep delivery program to these very neighbors at a sliding scale, pay what you can cost. And that program continues to this day.
Wow. Okay. I have so many questions. We're talking with Leah Penniman. The book, Black Earth Wisdom, we're going to get into, of course. Where do you start? I mean, there's the people listening right now. I'm going to start with a little herb garden this summer, right? And I'm going to also plant some garlic because I eat a lot of it.
Mhm.
My breath is fresh, y'all. And I'm probably going to do another root vegetable, probably turmeric or something, because I've heard that they're doing stuff with our turmeric. So I'm going to plant some turmeric. That's it. That's what I can do this year. How do you even start? I mean, 72 acres feels daunting. So where did you start? What was the first thing you planted?
Well, I love the way you're talking about starting small. So actually, garlic was the first thing we planted. But let me tell you this quick story. So my sister Naima, who also works on the farm, designed the cover art for Black Earth Wisdom and is a renowned poet.
Beautiful.
She has this practice of gardening anywhere she goes. So we were in Haiti. That's where our mother's lineage is from, doing some work with the farmers there. And we get there, and the first thing she does is take out this little glass jar, put some seeds in it, and start soaking the seeds. I was like, what are you doing, child? And she said, oh, I'm growing sprouts, my mung bean sprouts. I got to have my garden wherever I go. And that made me realize just how small a garden can be. You know, you're saying like pots on the windowsill, or maybe it's a few, containers out on the fire escape, or even just sprouts. And I do think there is something magical about nurturing life that becomes quite addictive in the best way. But to scale up to 72 acres, I don't want to shortchange farmers. It takes training. I wouldn't walk into a surgeon's room and put on a gown and just start cutting somebody. It takes training, and there is quite a bit of expertise in farming. So I had the blessing to work on other people's farms for almost a decade, learn the ropes, go to conferences, read books, study, take classes before starting my own farm. And I always say, if you want to farm at scale, you need at least 2 seasons working at a farm at scale, to have the knowledge that you need to set yourself up for success.
What's your favorite thing to grow?
Strawberries, hands down. So my grandmother in blessed memory, Brownlee McCullough, she's a daughter of the Great Migration, grew up in South Carolina, but like so many African Americans, moved to the urban north, but didn't forget how much she loved to grow. And so her peri-urban Boston home had a strawberry patch. And so I remember as a child going out there and harvesting those juicy red jewels and making jam with her. And that was my first introduction to what Yrsa Daley Ward calls pulling joy from the earth. And strawberries are still my favorite.
What's your most important thing to grow?
Oh, most important. That's such an interesting question. I mean, well, I'll say that we try to grow crops that resonate culturally with our community. So we have this wonderful Japanese Buddhist monk who's part of our program, and she's always trying to get us to grow these Japanese vegetables. We have a lot of black folks in our community, so we have varieties of collard greens and Caribbean fish pepper. So I think the thing that feels important to me is to make sure that what's in everyone's bag, their solidarity share bag, is something that resonates and excites them and makes it possible for them to carry on their culinary traditions.
I love it. What's a fish pepper? I'm today years old learning about a fish pepper. Of
Oh,
course, I
they're
know
so
what a
popular
color.
in New Orleans in gumbo because they're white, so they don't change the color. They're very spicy, but they don't change the color of your stew. So you see them a lot in New Orleans and in the Caribbean. They're beautiful.
Okay, so it's like a white Scotch bonnet.
Something like that. I think
Okay,
Scotch bonnets might be a little hotter.
yeah, Scotch bonnet will. Man, okay. So, Black Earth Wisdom, you write, while racial capitalism has attempted to sever our connection to the sacred earth for 400 years, Black people have long seen the land and water as family, treating the earth as a home essential. That's in the introduction, in the cover. As I was mentioning, listening to Inflamed, there is a connection that we have been severed from completely, which is highlighted in the book with the essays. You feature some people that I know that I've had on the show, like Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, who's amazing. The chapter on One Blue Planet, I want to get into that as well. But getting back, we are the seed. I often, I hear this. I'm in community with people, particularly Dr. Gray Carr. We are the seed, but we are so surrounded by concrete, by hardness. The earth is so separated from us. We are the color of earth, but we don't recognize that. Is this book and your movement with the farm an attempt or actual movement towards us knowing that fact?
Absolutely. Okay, so let me tell you this story that I think illustrates this. So a lot of folks know Dr. George Washington Carver as the peanut scientist, right? So late 1800s, early 1900s, he's a agronomist who is working out of Tuskegee and coming up with so many innovations around agriculture. I mean, people were monocropping cotton and destroying the soil. And he said, we got to plant these legumes as cover crops, restore the soil. We got to compost and mulch and use every part of everything. He was talking some futuristic stuff. And what astounded me is that when he was asked by his friend, Glenn Clark, where did you get all these ideas? I mean, this is a man who Albert Einstein called one of the 10 greatest minds of human history. Where did you get these ideas? He said he goes out into the forest before dawn and listens to the voice of God through the trees, the flowers, and the soil. He gets a direct download from what he calls nature's unlimited broadcasting systems through which God speaks to us every minute, every hour, every day, if we just turn to the right channel. So this man is out here a mystic and a scientist. And it got me thinking, how many more elders in our community remember how to talk and how to listen to the earth to know which way to go? So I called up some of the elders who are in the book, Mama Claudia Ford, ethnobotanist, Ira Wallace, seed keeper. I said, what's the earth saying and who else knows? And they gave me names. And so I'm just following this thread of names, and 10, 20, 30, 40 interviews later, I had to stop because of word count at some point, weave together some of the most brilliant ecological insights. You know, like talk about Audrey Peterman. She's a Jamaican American who loves the national parks, you know, won many awards, author. She says that there was a time when all of us could read the sky. We knew the weather, directionality, the time of year, our people's history by looking at the sky. It was a primary source. Now we're so far removed, it's almost like we're playing this dangerous game of telephone where someone reads the primary source of the earth and whispers to someone else who scrambles it a little, who whispers it to someone else, till you get to what we have now is sort of rampant violence and disconnection and destruction of one another and the earth. She said, we got to get back to our primary source. You know, if I was living in a neighborhood for my whole life and I didn't know my neighbors' names, you would think I was, well, you think something about me. And here we are right next to, you know, Sister Oak Tree and Brother Mycelium and Cousin Ostrich Fern, and we don't even know their names, right? And so this need to remember ourselves into kinship is really foundational to our collective survival.
That's my life's mission. Man, you just said something that I know that we are in community for a reason. Leah Penniman is here. The book is beautiful. So shout out to your sister, Black Earth Wisdom, Soulful Conversations with Black Environmentalists.